Hi everyone, my name is Chris Notarile at Blinky Productions, and I want to thank you all for watching and supporting the Phantom Faye series. It was a real fun project to do. So what I'm going to do now is a little Q&A video. A lot of you have written to me asking me some questions about the series involving some of the character arcs and any of the twists and turns, and as well as possible questions for Season 2. Yes, we are doing Season 2. So I'm going to answer all that for you. Will we see a Centurion or Avenger origin episode? That was actually the original plan. The original plan was to just do a one-shot for Phantom Faye and then continue that with, the Avenger and the Centurion and the Specialist. But I kind of got carried away and just did like 5 full episodes. But I really would like to be able to do that. So I don't know initially if I will be able to, just because in order to do everyone's origins properly and really give you all, the best that I can give, it might cost me a little bit more than I currently have. But it's something I really would like to do in the foreseeable future. Will we see more of the guy who was injected with the protector cells from the original Retcon Chronicles pilot? I have to give a little correction here. The guy was not injected. That character was known as Subject Zero, and he was a clone / child of the Protector. He was not a full-grown human. He was created and from birth and given these abilities in a matter of a couple of days. Will we see more of Subject Zero? If I continue the Retcon Chronicles series, yes. Right now, the Phantom Faye series happens before that. So in order to do that, I would have to continue where Retcon left off, and I haven't gotten there just yet. How many sisters besides Celista and Faye are there, and will they show up later on? There are currently 5 sisters in total in the initial family of Phantoms, and you will see them all in the future. There is Phantom Faye, Celista. They are twins. Then there is Ravina. You saw her in the 1st and 3rd episode, as well as her sister Evangela, who was referenced in episode 5. And then there is the youngest sister, Hope. You will be seeing, I guarantee you'll be seeing at least Evangela in Season 2, as well as possibly Hope. I haven't figured out how to write her into the story yet. There are other Phantoms as well, but it's a whole world, so I'm kind of focusing on just the one family at the moment. What was your inspiration for the series? My inspiration for Phantom Faye originally began when I was doing the Retcon Chronicles. It was actually going to be a Teen Titans web series that I wanted to do, and Faye was admittedly Raven. And you can basically figure it out from that point on. Avenger was Robin, Kayla was Wonder Girl, and so on and so forth. What I wanted to do was just make a Teen Titans web series, but make it kind of dramatic and whatnot. And then, after I had written the script, I said to myself, I would really like to, I think I should just make it original. I don't think I should do this as a fan series. The story's really cool, and I think it might be better if I just went original with it. So what I ended up doing was I reworked the story aspect, changed a couple of things around, and then ultimately renamed all the characters and started designing. Characters like Kayla, I actually came up with in the 7th grade, and I just decided to use her instead. The Avenger I created in about 2006. Faye and the Specialist were the newest to the group. So Faye initially started out as a Raven substitute, but she immediately just took on her own form after I decided to make her a Phantom based off of my 2011 short film Choice. Once I combined the short film Choice with the idea of what I wanted Faye to be, things just worked, and then the story just became what we know now. And it was really cool. If the Centurion project is happening, then how did Centurion get her abilities? Does this impact the idea of the Protector or Subject Zero from the Retcon Chronicles? I would like to clarify that the Centurion project happened already. It's done with. The timeline officially is Kayla was given her powers around, I believe, 2007 or 8, and she became the Centurion, and she had her time working for the government as an official hero. And there was this whole backstory to that. That project ended officially in 2010. There was no more Centurion project. It's just Kayla on her own at this point. So there's no other people getting her powers. There's nothing else like that. As far as how it impacts the idea of the Protector and Subject Zero, the Protector was a superhero from the 1930s all the way up until the 1960s. His story is primarily set in the golden age of comic books. There's not a whole lot of room for him in modern day, with the exception of the original 2006 short film I made, where you see him as an old man. Currently, he would be an old man. I have plans for the Protector, but I don't want to spoil anything and tell you what that is now. And as far as in Pax Subject Zero, he again was given the genetics of the Protector, which are the same genetics that made the Centurion. But the Centurion was already Kayla, a woman who was given these powers. The Subject Zero was born, created in a lab genetically and modified and all that stuff. So I hope I cleared that up. Will Fate get to try food? Fate, Phantom Faye's father, I don't see him trying food anytime soon. He's pretty adamant about staying where he is and only interacting for business purposes. He's a very strict kind of guy, so him just taking a leisure day and grabbing a slice of pizza is probably not something I see him doing just yet. I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't see it happening yet. How much fun has Faye tried? I would say in the time that Faye was human, she basically couch potatoed the whole thing, from just vegging out and binge watching stuff on TV and eating food. That's kind of sort of it. I see Faye growing. If she only were human, she would probably become like a cat lady, like the one who just like stays home and has just like a bunch of animals to feed and just watches and stuff. And initially, I think that might happen initially. Ultimately, she might, go outside and learn a little bit more. It's not like she's, Ariel or something like that. She's a little bit more brainier. Has Faye tried art? Not yet. What is Father going to do to Celesta? Is he going to torture her or something for calling him foolish? That will be answered in Season 2. It's more than just, the name calling that upset him. I think he just kind of said that at the end to mock her. Because, yes, she did call him foolish, but that's not the thing that upset him most. Father is a character that's very into order, structure. Everything has a plan and so on and so forth, and anything that could be a disruption to that plan will ultimately upset him and make him very, very angry. And I think I know what you will be seeing in Season 2 will be the repercussions of Celesta's actions and how they will be dealt with. Are you going to continue the Retcon Chronicles? I would like to. It's a very cool story, but right now I'm definitely knee-deep in the Phantom Faye prequel solo story. The direction I want to go in and ultimately everything that will lead up to the Retcon Chronicles is pretty cool and equally epic. In order to do the Retcon Chronicles, it would just be very expensive to show Retcon Labs and all of its glory and all the technology I want to show. That one is just very special effects heavy, and there's only so much I can do, in my current state of things. But, hopefully we'll be able to make that bigger leap in the foreseeable future. What is the actual relationship between Madelyn Hess and Mr. Rothschild? I understand that might have confused a couple of people if you were watching each episode, and by the time you get to episode 5, if you didn't realize it, there were a lot of flashbacks in episode 5. I didn't want to go traditional and just say, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or whatever. I tried to change it with the saturation of the frame and the, the vignette look to it, but whatever. Ultimately, the relationship between Madelyn and Mr. Rothschild is that he started out meeting her in this program, the synthetic program, as an amputee, a war vet, and they bonded. I guess you could kind of chalk it up to a mild form of Florence Nightingale syndrome, where the patient falls for the doctor, more or less, and vice versa. And they bonded, and obviously they had a child, but by the time you see Madelyn at the very end of episode 1, even though she's a loving, tender person, I think Mr. Rothschild was just so formal that he can't call her Madelyn. He needs to call her Mrs. Hess, because that's just who he is. After that, after Celista got into her and messed around with her, she became that cold, angry, stern person you see in episodes 2 through 4, and she's trying to break that the whole time. So it's a very complex relationship, because ultimately Celista is really putting a strain on it, and unfortunately for a lot of you, you don't get to see the original relationship untainted. You get to see it from this perspective, and you're catching up with everybody. Did Celista actually possess Madelyn? Good question. She did not actually possess her, but she forced her. The way the whole Phantom thing works is, you make a choice, your life happens and goes a certain route. By Celista forcing Madelyn to make a choice, she took that away, even though she put it in the format of make your choice. She didn't really give her an option. She just said in episode 2, she's threatening her and yelling at her and choking her and all that stuff. Once Madelyn gave into that form of torture, she ultimately became a slave to Celista in a way. That's why she acts the way she does. And she reacts the way she does too. There's parts of her that are trying to come back out and fight her, and then there are parts that are completely submissive and angry and verbally lash out at someone else, or more of like your traditional bad guy. If you see Madelyn in like halfway through episode 2 and episode 3, she's very, traditional bad guy, but that's only because of the hand that she's been dealt. What was making the series like? It was definitely a process. Kylie Contrary, who plays Phantom Faye, is not a local actor. We're filming this in the New York, New Jersey area, and she lives elsewhere. And we had to fly her up. And believe it or not, we filmed, with the exception of episode 1, we filmed episodes 2 through 5. All of her scenes were done in 3 days. Maybe 4. No, it was 3. She flew up on a Thursday. She filmed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and she went home on Monday morning. It was a hell of a shoot, because we had to really cram in everything, and there were no times for reshoots. There was no time for ADR. So it was one of those situations where, as a filmmaker, everyone had to be on point, as well as I did too. There was just no room for error. There was just not a lot of downtime, not a lot of leisure time, and we had a lot of problems. Like one location closed up for us and we couldn't get it, and we had to scramble and find another one, stuff like that. But it keeps you on your toes, and it's interesting. On a whole, it was really fun. Shooting this series, working with everybody, was just overall a great experience. But like I said, it was definitely a condensed shoot. What was the biggest challenge in the process of filmmaking? I would say the biggest challenge was definitely the special effects have always been a little bit of a difficult thing for me. I do it all myself, and I don't have a lot of CG background. I don't have any CG background, actually, so I'm kind of winging it. Another of the bigger challenges was the time schedule, with Kylie only being here for 3 days, and having to coordinate all of her scenes in that time, as well as wrangling all the other actors and making sure everyone's schedule is matched. People have day jobs, people have lives, and you don't want to, when you're making an independent film, you want to inconvenience people as little as possible. Another big problem we had was that Andrea Nicole, who played Madelyn Hess, she was unavailable for the days that we filmed with Kylie, so we had to schedule her end of the shoot after that. So again, it's just like matching up everything and making sure everything fit. Like you'd shoot a scene, half the scene, and then when she came in, we had to film the other half of the scene, but make sure everything felt seamless. So again, I would say the biggest challenge was keeping continuity. Yeah, that's probably it. As a filmmaker, do you look back on your earlier works and mentally critique yourself on how you did it? If you did it today with your knowledge, what would you do differently? Or are you satisfied with all of your work? That's an interesting question. I would say, as a filmmaker, looking back at my earlier work, yeah, there's stuff I cringe at. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I made that. I can't believe I allowed that to go out there. Or, oh my god, that was so terrible. And yeah, I look at it and I go, if I did that now, I'd do it so differently. Not that I would do it so differently. It was that I would do it a little bit cleaner, or I would have gotten a different reaction from my actors if I did it. I think my biggest critique to myself as a filmmaker is in my editing. My editing may be a little tighter, or my dialogue might have been a little quicker, or something like that. I feel like my earlier works to me are not as fast as I want them to be. So that's how I react when I watch a lot of my earlier stuff. There are other movies where I'm completely satisfied. I'm like, oh yeah, that was awesome. But I would say, like, when I go to the very, very, very beginning of it, I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it felt like. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the questions. Again, thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting Phantom Faye. Thank you for supporting Blinky Productions. Just generally, thank you for everything. I hope you're all satisfied, and I can't wait for you all to see Season 2. We're going to be going in a lot of cool directions with it. We're going to delve into more of the Phantom world, hopefully. You'll be able to see the other realm. We're going to delve into maybe a couple of origins from other people, or at least touch upon it, as well as we'll be linking a lot more of my films into the broad scope, like how Marvel has their cinematic universe and how DC is now creating their universe. I'm going to be linking a lot of different things together that, you know, if you're a fan of a lot of my work, it'll be nice to see references and homages, as well as some guest appearances. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet, but it's going to be really cool. On that note, once again, thank you, everybody. My name is Chris Notarile at Blinky Productions, and if you like what you see, keep watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.